Hey everyone, I'm Aaron. That's my identical twin brother, Adam. And you are in a baseball brewhaha, which means a cup of coffee and a daily baseball trivia fracas. We're getting after it. And today, usually we don't talk about Bruno, but today we're going to. Adam, what do we mean?
Well, we're talking about walks, and we're going to get to our friend Bruno, but there have been 6 games in history where a team scored 15 or more runs and had at least as many walks as runs. And we want to know which opposing starter was the least bad. So allowed the fewest walks.
And this isn't just pulled out of thin air here. This just happened. You have some. There we go.
Yeah, so here's the snippet from MLB.com. The Mets, 17 walks, 17 runs versus the A's. And we're going to dive right in here. So here's our question of the day. Which of these starting pitchers allowed the fewest walks? And you'll notice there's only 5. We left one out because he's special. So we have we have Jack Nabors, 1916 A's, Joe Martina, 1924 Senators, Jim Abbott, 93 Yankees, Omar Olivares, 94 Cardinals, and James Kaprielian of this year's Oakland A's.
Yeah, I went. So I was thinking about this. The leash was much longer in 1916 and 1924 than it tended to be in 93, 94, and 2023, especially in 2023. So I went Kaprielian here, just because I feel like the leash on pitchers walking guys is much shorter in today's game, which we'll dive into.
Yeah, so I it's similar to you thinking about the leash. I went with Jim Abbott. Thinking about with the Yankees, the tolerance for imperfection is much lower than other teams. I mean, the 2023 A's are bad. They're just throwing people out there. Hey, just give it a go. Try your best. But Yankees, maybe not so much there. So that's what I went with.
Okay.
But let's take a peek. Our answer is Jack Nabors.
No way.
Of the 1916 A's. I think they tried to let him go on the leash as much as possible. he lasted 1 inning, gave up 5 runs, and they said that's enough of that. Joe Martina also lasted 1 inning, 5 runs, 4 walks. Jim Abbott was third with 5 walks, also 1 inning, 5 runs. There's a little theme here. James Kaprielian, he made it to 7 walks, all the way to 7 before he was done. So
wow. Okay. How many walks did you say Nabors had?
3.
3, just 3. Okay.
3.
All right.
But
so he was giving up a bunch of hits. Apparently.
Yeah. So all in 1 inning there. So but now we're going to talk about Bruno, who we don't talk about, but we're talking about Bruno.
We don't. The situation here is we don't talk about Bruno enough. Is what
that's
the
right.
situation.
That's right. Yeah. So Bruno Haas, he was a starting pitcher among this crew, but he has the distinction of having pitched a complete game. So he allowed all of the runs and all of the walks. Unfortunately, this was his major league debut, and this Bruno came up in a previous video on sort of the other end of pitchers who made their debut, and we were looking at who had the most.
Right. Yeah.
We're talking about Bruno as who had the most walks. He had 16 walks, gave up 15 runs, but only 8 of them were earned. He had 7 unearned runs because the A's made 7 errors that day. Haas ended up only pitching 1 season, made 2 starts, 10.1 innings, 19 runs. So they said, you know what we should do is try him in relief. Let's see what happens there. Let's see what happened. What did happen? 3 appearances, 2 of them he didn't record an out. He finished with, in relief, 1 inning, 9 runs on 4 hits and 8 walks. Finished his career with 7 strikeouts and 6 wild pitches.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get. You wonder here, okay, why was Bruno Haas allowed to pitch a complete game? It makes no sense. Well, it starts to make more sense when we're going to talk about the A's a little bit more. The 1915 A's, who went 43 and 109. So, why not? What are you hurting? So Bruno Haas, though, this year, he faced 85 batters, and 51 of them reached base.
Oh no.
He finished the season with a 17.6 walks per 9. So he had a short MLB career. He actually he played in 6 other major league games, 3 as an outfielder and 3 as a pinch hitter, and then became the original Deion Sanders. Crossed over and played in the NFL.
No way.
Yeah. I don't have anything on his NFL stats, but I thought Bruno Haas is Bruno Haas and Deion Sanders belong in the same conversation.
And Bo Jackson. Brian Jordan. I mean, Bruno Haas, elite athlete, right up there. Well, let's talk about the A's a little bit more. So the A's, of these 6 games that have happened in this way, 3 of them belong to the A's. The 1915 A's, who you mentioned, 43 and 109. They finished 58 and a half games out. So almost made the playoffs. And then those A's followed up with an encore 1916, even worse season of 36 and 117. 54 and a half games out. The 2023 A's, who knows? What heights will they come to? But against these Mets, the 2023 A's did something no other team had done before. What is it, you ask? They walked 5 players in 3 different innings in 1 game.
Yeah, that's incredible. So I was looking at some of these stats, and I thought let's figure out what the team situation is. In 1914, the A's went 99 and 53. Okay, that's a respectable record.
Yeah.
And I was looking at pitching statistics. They walked over the course of the year 521 batters. Okay. The next year they went 43 and 109. And you start to wonder, I wonder why such a disparity. Well, one of the contributing factors is they walked 521 batters in 1914 and 827 in 50 fewer innings pitched.
Oh no!
In 1915, it was brutal, and even among these bad A's teams, this was the most walks in a season in 1915 by over 100 walks.
Yikes!
By these teams. I mean, most of them were in the 500s ish. 1916 A's were like 720. That was bad too, but 827 as a team. The pitching staff for the entirety of the season, 5.5 walks per 9 innings. In this day and age, a guy walks 5 per 9. He does not stay in the major leagues. That was the entirety of the A's pitching staff.
Yeah, well, and you folks out there might be wondering, why don't they just take the pitcher out if they're struggling so much? Well, it's not that simple. So I'm curious about your thoughts, Aaron, on when do you go to the bullpen? What are situations when you're like, you know what, he doesn't have it, but we just got to let him go.
Yeah. So the two things that I always think about as I'm watching a game and why aren't we going to the bullpen is score is a big one. And also bullpen use, recent bullpen use. And also you factor in if you're on day 2 of a 12-game stretch with no days off, like you can't use your whole pen in day
Yeah.
two. Like
Yeah.
it's not going to work. So if if it's 8-1 in the sixth, and you brought in one reliever already, and he's just sucking wind, you may bring in your long relief guy who's like your sixth starter in case somebody gets hurt, and there's a reason why he doesn't ever pitch is because he's not very good, and you might just throw him out there and just get taken to the woodshed, because you need somebody to eat those innings. You can't just waste the bullpen. So that was my thought. And same, like, when we played high school baseball, you can only pitch like high school, college. I don't know how it works in college as much, but you can only pitch so many innings in a week. So you can't throw, and you don't have a pitching staff of like 12 Greg Maxes on a high school team. So sometimes you just gotta suck it up and take a beating.
Yeah, I'm with you there on the bullpen usage. There's so many factors that go into it, and the tough thing is like thinking about some of these games where a guy made it 1 inning, 1.2 innings. That's where it gets really tough, because it's like, okay, are we at a point where we can try and salvage this game, or are we just like we're letting it ride, And so there are all those factors of the games coming up, bullpen usage. Do we think we can hang with this game? And sometimes you just have to let it go. Like sometimes you got young pitchers, and it's like, I'm just going to give them the experience. Just go out there and throw. Let it happen. And this is one of the like advantages, I think, of a 162 game baseball season is you can say, you know what, we're not gonna have it today. We'll just pack it up.
Yeah, we'll mail that one in.
Yeah.
We did it. So I just want to quickly interject. There's a couple of really wonky ones. Speaking of this going to the pen, of whether you go to the pen or not. In 1965 and 67, you had two pitchers, Jim Maloney in 65 and Steve Barber in 1967, who each walked 10 guys while throwing a no-hitter. So there's sort of this tendency to let the guy keep going to try to get the no-hitter. This would not happen in today's game. And we've had several games where guys got pulled in like the seventh, eighth inning because their pitch count crested 100. Oh my, 100 pitches. So these guys had to be throwing 150 to get their no-hitter.
Right. Well, they just didn't care about pitch count.
No, they did not care.
We're in a different era. That's for sure.
We are. Yeah.
Well, you know what that sound means. It's story time. Dance it out a little bit. All right. So what do we got for story time today?
Well, I was thinking, so I played a lot of catcher when I was growing up. And then also we obviously played infield in addition to doing a little pitching ourselves. And I just remember how difficult it was to be in the field when a guy can't throw strikes. We had a guy on our team. We played a summer season and high school season with him. His name is Jared. And when he was on, he was real tough to hit. Had a nice tailing fastball and a hard knuckleball. And he was if he was throwing strikes, it was game over. It's a big if, though. It's a big if for Jared. And we love Jared, by the way. And so I remember so many times catching, and he'd throw like 10 straight balls. And I'd go out to visit him on the mound, and it's like, what do you say? What do you say? Hey man, throw a strike. And so most of the time I go out there and I just start cracking jokes, like just try to get him to loosen up or something, because it's like, I mean, what do you say? What do you say to a guy like that?
Yeah, I'm going to turn back the clock even more on story time here, because I remember in my early Little League days, when kid pitch was just starting, and you coach this age, when kid pitch just starts, nobody can throw a strike. I played center field because Griffey played center field, so I wanted to play center field. And not only does no one throw strikes, even if you throw a strike, no one's hitting it to center field. I'll tell you that. So you spend an entire game just picking dandelions out there.
Yeah.
And so I had my early memories of just watching the walks pile up was standing in center field, picking grass, hoping somebody would hit it out there. Please. Oh, please.
Yeah. Yep. That is accurate. I will tell you that. From coaching that, it's a brutal situation. So, well, folks, that's going to do it for us today on the Baseball Brewhaha. Thanks for joining us. A special thanks to MLB and StatHead for providing some data for us. Subscribe, like, enter your comments below if you got a burning question, and find us on Twitter. You can bring some questions there. Those are our favorite kind, actually, believe it or not. You bring us your questions; those are our favorite. We love answering those. We have some coming up in the next couple weeks.